Hello, good evening, and welcome to round 2 of the Sam Pearce Motorsport COVID-19 Clio Cup Championship, coming to you live and direct from Silverstone National Circuit, the short circuit with the old pit straight as the start finish. As we move into today's race, the championship standings are Matt Parr with 2 wins in Donington round with 50 points. Rob Lewis Racing with 36, Graham the Beast in P3, 31, Pro-Am Scott in 4th with 19, Alex Neville, who was last year's runner-up, with 18, Ed to the Bratmobile, level with him on 18 points, so joint 5th, Kiwi Russ, having only done 1 race, having backed out of the first Donington race, is in P7 with 12, followed by Dave of the North with 8, Sam Pearce, our series sponsor of Sam Pearce Motorsport, in P9 with 7, and yours truly, Halves CP, in P10 with 2 points, having been on controller. So it's good to know that I'm back on the wheel this week, and will that make any difference? As we come out of qualifying, Ed set the fastest time with our championship leader and defending champion Matt in P2, Graham the Beast P3, Russ in P4, Sam Pearce in P5, Alex Neville P6, Rob Lewis P7, Scott P8, Paul Harvey in P9, Big Tom Starkey in P10, Johnny T in 11th, Dave of the North P12, and Night Sky Watcher Nick in P13. And it is fair to say that the first 9, the top 9, were only separated by 0.5 seconds in qualifying. So this promises to be a great race. 2 races this evening. First race is based on qualifying positions, and will be a 20-minute race followed by a brief interlude, and then a second race which is a random grid assigned by the computer completely at random, and anything can happen. So if qualifying is anything to go by, this is going to be a very, very close event, and we very much are looking forward to a fantastic race ahead. And here we go. Ed out front with Matt in P2, Graham in P3, Kiwi Russ P4, and they're away. Solid start from everyone. Turn 1 notoriously close, everyone holding their line, and it's close there as Graham seems to be getting a run on Matt. Russell up the outside, but Ed's got away nice and clean and safe as they head up the hill now into the first proper hairpin, and Graham has taken that P2 from Matt. So it's Ed out front, Graham into P2. Let's have a little look at what goes on. It's notoriously tight here, and Sam has got a bit loose, and yes, there's a bit of an issue, and Paul Harvey goes flying left as the others come down the straight. So into the first left-hander at the end of the Wellington straight. Graham seeing if he can get past Ed, who's out in front, and it already looks like it's going to be a very close race with no one making a breakaway at the front. We do know that there's a draft that comes down the start-finish straight, and at the end of lap 1 it's Ed in P1, Graham in P2, Matt in P3, Russ in P4, Sam Pearce in P5, and Alex Neville P6. These are definitely the fast guys that are out the front. They've shown this pace throughout the season so far, so we do know they're all broadly matched, and this is a type of circuit where actually times are going to be very, very close. So it'll be interesting to see. Now, if you get too far wide here, you can lose it. There's a little bit of a slide there from Matt, and Matt's gone back up into P2. Graham's going to try and draft him as they come out of the hairpin. Russ is having a little look there and a battle, and Sam seems to have closed up at the back there, and just hanging on to the back of them is Tom Starkey. So Tom's not out of the running either, as Ed keeps his P1 and Matt comes up the inside into the left-hander. It's got the wrong line though, so Graham has gone wide and has now got the inside line for the very tight right-hander with induces understeer, and he's made that pay and has managed to pull away and get a little bit of a space. So Alex Neville just dropping off the back of these 3 at the minute. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not they do manage to come back. Ed crosses the line again, so at the end of lap 2, starting lap 3, he's managed to keep all 4 wheels on the ground, which is a first. And it just looks like he's gone a bit wide there, so that's given Graham a bit of an opportunity. Is there enough grunt out of this Clio to get up the hill and past him? And he's taken that position up into P1. So Graham the Beast moves into P1, locking a little inside front and maybe the rear there, cocking his rear and takes that P1 from Ed. Matt is hanging on in P3 and Alex is in P4, but it's definitely very close there with Sam Pearce coming up behind him, as well as Russ in P6, and just hanging on to the back but dropping off slightly now is the Ginger Wrecking Ball Tom Starkey. So Graham out front, and he's lost a little bit of time there as he's moved sideways. He's gone wide. Is that going to give Ed a chance to do the cut back? And it's side by side into the corner. It's all going to be about the drive out the corner and the draft down into T1. So nose to tail now. The first 5 are bunched straight back up again. As we come across the classic start-finish line with the old pits to the side there. As we go on board with Ed now, who is tracking down our race leader, Graham. Graham's locked a wheel, gone a little bit wide, managed to hold on here. Ed's got a little bit of a better drive out of that corner. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not he can make that relate into a better performance down this straight, into the fast left-hander. Is he going to make a move? It'll be interesting to see. He's taking a little look. But he's covered across there by Graham, but Graham's pushed wide again and he's going wide, and yes, Ed takes a place. So some great driving there by Ed as he moves into that position. And it's also meant that Matt's managed to get onto the back of Graham as well. So some great driving for everyone, nice and clean. It's actually a couple of mistakes that have enabled things to change a little bit. As we move back through the field, Graham still is in a great position as we come into the fast right-hander. A little dab of the brakes and then he goes, and Ed's gone a little bit sideways there, which has enabled Graham to catch right back up. So that really is interesting to see whether or not he can make that count into this T1. They're side by side now, and that's pushed Graham wide. Has he managed to make it stick? He has managed to make it stick, and they're coming side by side now, really close racing down the Wellington straight. Alex Neville's catching up on the back of them, and Sam Pearce is having a little look on the outside as well. So, Russ goes wide in the back there. Alex up into P2, then Graham's gone wide, and that's meant that Alex has crept through, and all 3 have crept through. So some very clean driving and some opportunities in there, pushing Graham back into P4, which he wasn't going to be expecting having come out of that. So now we are nose to tail, and our front 3 are very, very close indeed. Alex Neville out front now from Ed. So Alex come back from P5 where he was just dropping off the back and in, and Ed's having a little look up the inside, and Sam, I think he got a little bit hot in there and he had to back out of it, and that's enabled Graham to go past. So yeah, really close racing at the front, people swapping positions on every lap. If this is going to be probably an intense 20 minutes as Ed goes up the outside. Is he going to be able to make it stick side by side, 2 abreast into the tight right-hander? This is fantastic driving, very clean. And is Graham going to be the beneficiary of this behind as well? As we come down the Wellington straight once more, they're 3 abreast now. And Sam Pearce is probably just sitting in the background thinking to himself, if I just hang on here for a minute. Oh, no, he looks like he's going to get involved. 3 abreast, formation driving, a bit like the Red Arrows. All 3 of them nice and tight. Sam goes a little bit wide, and Matt sticks his nose up the inside there. Is he going to take P4 as well? So swapping positions all over the place. Incredibly close racing as Ed comes out of the last right hander onto the start finish straight, back into P1 with Graham in P2, and it does look like Graham's got the ultimate lap pace, but he's made a couple of mistakes and gone wide in a couple of places. As we come into the fast T1 and there's a bit of a draft, he's looked like he had to back out of it because of the draft. Is that going to give Alex a run on Graham on the way up the hill? So all of these 5 now clearly out front, a little bit of a gap from Kiwi, Russ, and hanging on in the background there as well is the Ginger Wrecking Ball. As Sam comes up, out-braking Alex then, visibly making space up. Graham's having a little look up the inside, so as we come back down the Wellington straight once more, they are 2, 3, 4 abreast. It is absolutely as close as you like, and anything can happen. I think it's going to be more a case of who's making mistakes. Some very sensible driving as Graham has us tight on the inside and drifts a bit wide again. And this time has enabled Alex to get past. He's not getting that left-hander right, but Alex has gone wide now, and Graham's come back up the inside, and they are side by side, really close but clean racing. Once again, The Beast is on the inside in the monster liveried car. Alex Neville, who's got some good consistent pace in our last series, on the outside. And they are definitely not working together to try and track down Ed at the front. They are deciding it's going to be door to door. Sam's going to get a better run there. Was there a bit of contact? I'm not so sure. It looks like nice and clean. Maybe a little bit of a nudge. Sam tucking in behind nicely to get part of the draft on the way up the hill. And this is going to be interesting because you need to be on the right line as Sam tucks it in. Graham goes up the inside. They are literally half a car apart as they come out of that right-hander, and in the background is our series leader Matt, just thinking, I'm just going to have a little look here for a bit. This is a long haul. There's another 13 minutes of this race to go, give or take, as they come 3 abreast now, and there's some contact there between Sam and the Beast, and the Beast has gone wide and Sam's gone wide. All 3 of them have gone wide, and this is normally where Matt cleans up, so that predicted a little bit of contact, which would enable our series leader just to keep his nose clean, keep out of trouble. Watch what unfolds as he's made up a place there coming out of the final corner. Ed has managed to benefit from this, has got a little bit of space out the front. So yes, this is a great opportunity for all of these guys just to settle back in, find their rhythm. Really close but clean racing, the odd little bit of contact which you will expect on this circuit because the lap times are so similar, and they're actually, you haven't got the same sort of visibility that you or I have from the side of the track. We're with Matt in P4, Alex Neville out in front of him. This is the view that the drivers are forced to have, so you can see it's very, very close out the front with Ed in P1, Graham P2 and Matt, and just coming up behind him Sam Pearce as well. So people really having to work very, very hard as well, and a little bit of contact there that's given Matt a little bit of an issue. And does that mean that Sam Pearce behind him can actually get up alongside, and he's got a good run out of the corner, and he comes back onto the start finish straight, and he moves back into P4 now. So he's just managed to gap Matt a little bit there, and Graham is right up behind Ed as we come into the very fast T1 track limits applying on the outside. He's got a great run. It looks like he's going to get alongside him. Is Ed going to concede the position into this tight right-hander, and he needs to make sure he's in the right place because this is very unstable under braking. So Graham, perfectly done, and we can see Ed behind him in his mirror. Ed now returning the favour and has got his opportunity to follow Graham. So I don't know if I can carry this on for 20 minutes. This is the most exciting race that I've seen at the front, and Ed's making a move. He's going round the outside, and in his rear view mirror you can see Alex, who's going to be thinking about, and a little bit of contact there, but probably to be expected by Graham. Nothing particularly dirty, just tight racing, competitive racing. Graham squares the corner off, gets a little better drive out, and who's behind? Alex Neville in P3, who's looking in front of him and thinking to himself that this could be his opportunity to take advantage of the shenanigans that are going on. He's up alongside Ed as he comes into the right-hander. Is he going to make it stick? Or he drifts a little bit wide. Has he managed to make it stick? I'm not so sure. Sam Pearce behind is looking at these two coming up the hill. They are side by side, and yet again 2 abreast into a tight corner. Nicely done by Ed. Tucks it on the inside. Sam's just having a little look just to see if there's going to be any carnage. Can he take advantage of that? And behind him is Matt. So as they run down once again to the Wellington Straight, it is nose to tail. These front 5 are just starting to be caught by Kiwi Russ in the background there. It looks like the Ginger Wrecking Ball Tom Starkey has just dropped off the back, and while these 5 are taking some time out of each other, it does mean that Russ may be able to claw some space and time back as they go 2 abreast outside. Alex having a look on Ed this time. And out front, it's Graham the Beast with Ed behind him in P2. Alex Neville P3. Sam's just gone a little bit wide. Has that given Matt a chance to get up the inside? Difficult to tell from this angle, but we'll get a better idea as they head up the hill once more. It's a very short but frantic lap around the national circuit. Very wide, great for racing on. They bunch up once again. Ed losing the front a little bit, and Sam's got his nose up the inside of Alex. Is he going to get a drive out of the corner? Go down the Wellington Straight into the fast left-hander now. Eddie's on the inside and he's 3 abreast once more. 3 abreast as they come down, and Matt just hanging in the background. So 3 abreast with Matt sticking his nose in as well into pairs, and Sam with a great move up the back there. Oh, and there's contact there. It looked like Matt just gave Alex a little nudge, and that caused a problem for Sam. And Kiwi Russ is getting in on the action now. We do know that he will race with his elbows out, and he's got up the inside, and lo and behold, as we suggested, people in front just taking some time out of each other. A bit of contact, and Kiwi Russ moves up into a P4, and that's enabled Graham and Ed just to break away from the front. But we've seen before that the cars behind with the slipstream will recover some of the space. As we come across the line once more, it'd be nice to have a little look at Kiwi Russ just to see how he's getting on. As we come up the hill with Russ, we've not really seen much of him. P4, and he's managed to claw back that time all in a couple of laps really. We thought he was out of the running and had moved back, but a little bit of contact brought the field back to him. So he's definitely hunting down that podium position, and our series leader, no matter what happens, Mr. Consistent is just hanging on in there in P5. Graham and Ed are just making a little bit of a breakaway at the front, and Russ has got some good pace. We're now about to find out whether or not he's got the consistency to go with it. You can see the difference in style there with the wheel moving very, very quickly, tap steering from Alex in the car in front because he uses a controller, whereas Russell's on a very sophisticated Thrustmaster kit, and he looks like he's going to have a little bit of a draft down the start-finish straight. We have found that this is the quickest and most beneficial part, as they both tap the brakes and move in. A little bit wide there from Russ, but he manages to hold on. But that's given Matt a chance to get a run at him, because he had to blend out of the throttle a little bit to make sure he didn't ping track limits on the exit. Will we be seeing Matt come up the inside as Russ moves round the outside? Sam Pearce is just in the background there as well. So once again, it's continuing and Matt has come alongside. So it's Graham out front, Ed in P2, Alex in P3, and Russell and Matt on completely opposite sides of the track. But Russell has got the inside line. Can he make it stick? Matt goes around the outside, carrying a bit more momentum, but can't turn it in. But he is on the inside for Brooklands, this right-hander, and he just drifts a little bit wide, but he very cleanly takes the place. And that's given Sam Pearce a chance to catch up on the back there. So these three are nose to tail, swapping positions really consistently. And Graham and Ed are just creeping off the front of the grid here. So Graham out in P1 with Ed in P2. They're just getting a little bit of a gap from Alex, because there's a group of them here who are just playing with each other, trying to get the inside line, and that's compromising their outright lap time. And when you're actually in this situation on this circuit, it's not a bad place to be at all. If we go on board with our guy who's out front, he's got a nice clean track in front of him. He can get into his own rhythm and routine, not have to worry about anyone else, just optimise his lap time. He's not getting a draft from anyone, which is fair enough because he's out on his own. But he hasn't got to contend with anyone else trying to take his lap times. The same with Ed in P2. He's just struggling to hang on to the back of Graham, so Graham's just giving him a little bit of speed and space. Kiwi Russ in the middle of this pack now with Sam Pearce, just dropped off the back momentarily, so we'll wait to see whether or not he can make up that space back. But Russ is tracking down the defending champion of the Clio Series, the winner of Series 1 in Lockdown 1 2020, Matt Parr of the Grant Motorsport team, just out in front. And in front of him is Alex Neville, the mini racer who raced on the Topper undercard this year and will probably be back doing something in minis next year with any luck with the Graves Motorsport team. These three battling it out, differences of style and technique, but broadly similar lap times. And we do know that if Russ does get the opportunity, he is going to make a move. As they come down the straight again, three abreast, an opportunity for me just to have a breather for 2 seconds, but they close back up again, and Russ full send into the right-hander. He has got some previous on this track in real life where he smashed my Clio gearbox from 4th to 1st at the end of it and managed to lunch that quite nicely. So luckily the semi-automatic of these Clio Cup cars will hopefully preclude that from happening on the software front. But these three nose to tail with Sam just dropping off the back, and hopefully we'll come back make some space up. They go back up the hill once more. So once again, is it going to be a case of who does or doesn't make a mistake? Three of these, and they're catching Ed. So Ed's coming back to the group. It does look like Graham's off the front and Sam Pearce is just off the back. He may well have to settle for that place, and Tom Starkey just holding his own out the back there as well. And Rob Lewis and Scott in the background, who got tangled up in the start race, have not really managed to claw back any time on these guys, because they're also getting the benefit of the slipstream together. So Russ just dropping off the back there, losing a little bit of time. But the two cars in front, Alex Neville and Matt Parr, Matt in the green car, Alex in the white, yellow and black car, have just managed to get Russ here in the Martini type stripe. Graham's off the front, so unless he makes a mistake, it's highly unlikely that he's going to get caught at this point. But the battle for second, third, fourth and fifth is still on, and that's probably a mistake there from Russ that's going to lose him a little bit more time. So second, third and fourth are the key positions to focus in on for the last bits of this race as they come up into the tight right hander once more. Not a lot of mistakes being made by these guys. Alex with a little bit difficult, more control into the right hander, just sliding the car a little bit more. Ed keeping it nice and tight and clean. He has been out the front for some considerable time with Graham, but it does look like the field are going to challenge him as we come up to it. And the classic flash your lights, get out of my way, student boy. That's going on. And all three of them come in. Different techniques as well through the corner. Russ pushing hard, just going wide. Probably going to get a penalty there for peeing track limits. So that effectively will probably put him out of this race with a 1 second penalty for doing that. But it's Ed just hanging on into P2. Alex not giving up at all. Just a little bit of a gap there. Back to the car of Matt Parr, the green and white car. Ed in the purple and white car. But the three of these are definitely going to be battling this out right to the very end. So if anyone makes a mistake, that's going to allow someone to slip through. It's very difficult to overtake around here because the lap times are broadly similar from everyone. As I say, the top 9 qualified within half a second of each other. But Alex is right on the back bumper of Ed, and it's going to be very tricky for Ed to keep under the pressure just to see how things are going, what's going on. Come down, Alex into the left-hander, broadly similar. Ed doing a good job as well, braking, not drifting too wide, getting good traction on the exit. So Ed's got a good drive out the corner. That's not a bad piece of driving there at all. Matt just behind watching these two, just thinking to himself, okay, if there's any mistakes I'm going to nip through, but P4 is probably not a bad place for him to be. As Alex has a look on the inside, and that's it. Race over. So Graham is the winner of our race. In P2, Ed. P3, Alex. P4, Matt. Russell hanging on in there as well. And then Sam Pearce, who just drops off the back of everyone there for the last few laps. But great close racing